the ghosting of backmarkers in the game. We have now delivered on it.
Yes, hello viewers, Super TT here. So we've had very good news in the recent May update. So I was watching the Forza monthly, and plenty of change actually for this month. And one of the biggest changes, yes, you saw it in the intro, ghosted backmarkers. Hallelujah. It will no longer be a problem. No longer will we get rammed off by the people who wait for a lap to punt us off the circuit. So that is a very good addition, and a long time coming, I think, but thankfully finally we have it. So we'll see over the course of the video how that makes a difference. And of course there are some other differences or other changes to the penalty system, which we're going to take a look at in the video. And the main one really is just the increments of the penalties. So it used to just be a case of getting, let's say, a 1 second penalty, 2, 3, 4. It would just work in seconds, but now it works in quarter of a second. So you can get a 0.25, 0.5, 0.75 second penalty. So we'll see how that works out. As yeah, finally back in Forza, and I think it was a good time to get back on with the new update at the beginning of May. Well, we're not really at the beginning of May anymore, but it's worth checking out, seeing how it is progressing. So once again in the race regulations hopper, and just testing out this new system, see how it works. Coming down the hill Maple Valley, I backed out, let this guy go, and he kind of backed out loads as well. And we went through there side by side, which is not the most ideal place to go side by side. Now here is an example of what we all came to see: ghosted backmarkers. Hallelujah! It's yeah, it's just so useful to have this. You see these two guys, you see this a lot. People just they're a lap down, they're in last and second to last, just hitting each other. It's just so stupid. Honestly, the amount of stupidity in the people that do that is off the charts. But I think in a race this short, it's only a 6-minute race. If you're getting lapped, you're not really going to have your experience ruined by being ghosted out. In an endurance hopper, maybe you want it to be more realistic. You don't perhaps want the ghosting, but in these sprint races, it's very short races, 6 minutes apiece. If you're getting lapped in that shorter race, then something's wrong or something's up. You're probably up to something. So across the line, that was second. Now this race, I don't even know where to begin with this. Honestly, the amount of things that happened here. I think Sebastian Vettel's quote or question, what are we even doing here, racing or ping pong? This is a serious question, because I really think it applies to this race or ping pong match very well. It's just Long Beach. You can imagine it's normally a fairly chaotic circuit, and already Captain Porcupine are getting wiped out at the beginning. Into the roundabout, and actually people going over the roundabout. And just look at this, cars just getting collected on each other, left, right and centre, well mostly to the right at that point there. But this is something I wanted to highlight about maybe the physics system, because sometimes it happens actually quite a lot actually. Two cars getting stuck on each other, where you make contact with sort of the front end of one car, the rear end of the other, and you basically get stuck on each other and you can't turn. That does happen a few times in this video. So getting punted on for good measure. Look at this cheeky ghost overtake. Make the most of the ghost, go through everyone and gain about 4 positions. Nice job. Didn't last very long though, because come through here, someone's into the tyre barrier. And we're going 4 abreast here, up the back straight. I'm smashed into the wall. This is absolute mayhem, honestly. The amount of crashing, and again, guys spinning out there. I just can't quite fathom exactly what's going on here. I find myself in 9th. I've somehow got through all the trouble. I suppose everyone else has been in the trouble as well. So it really is just an absolute mess out there. Or out here. Through the final corner at Long Beach, onto the back straight, or main straight now. And it's just a 4-lap race, quite a quick one. So it's actually quite hard to go beyond the track limits here in many cases. So of course in turn 1 there is quite a big gap. And you can cut some of these turns, but a lot of the time you're running up to the walls anyway. So it isn't always possible to kind of extend. You see there, like on the left little kink there, you can't really cut that at all. can cut that one there a little bit. And this is the main corner I said that many people would cut, is that right-hander there. So it's good to see that people trying to obey the track limits. And this is something about the track limit system. I think slowly, it's going to take time, but people will slowly begin to just change the way that they drive to really just match the track limits. So to begin with, it might be quite hard adjusting to keeping yourself within the lines so they go past those two guys quite easily. But over time, I think people just begin to adjust the way that they drive through the turns, be a little bit more careful, try to just keep within the track limits. And that guy goes on up to 6th place. But it will take time, but I think we'll get there. I still think some of the track limits are a bit weird, some of the tracks. Mainly Prague, like the chicane, some of the chicanes are a little bit weird. I do think they should just let you run up to the wall in some instances, as Claude Door has literally run into the wall. I don't mean it literally, mate. As we come up into this left-hander, am I going to get punted on? Not quite, very close. So here on the right-hand side, I don't see why you couldn't go up to the wall. It doesn't let you go quite up to the wall. I mean, I think in IndyCar when they race here, they just run the wall. So there are some instances where the track limits are a little bit weird compared to what I expect or think, but I mean it's the same track limit for everyone, I suppose. So you just have to run with what's there. Into this second to last, third to last corner, I think. Get punted on for good measure. So the race wasn't quite settling down as much as I would have liked. So no penalties as of yet for contact. This is really just a track limits system, keeping it within the lines, as these guys most certainly are not doing, going over the roundabout. And once again, the chaos is just absolutely immeasurable. I can't even fathom what's going on. So back into 7th, can we get 5th by the end of the race? I've been penalty free thus far. These guys getting on with each other quite nicely. At this point, the guy ahead, 7.25 seconds worth of penalty, and this is the one thing I would say about the system currently, is that I still think that some of the penalties are a little bit too strong. So sometimes you cut a tiny amount and you get like 4 seconds or something second penalty, and it's a little bit excessive. But please do let me know your thoughts. What are your thoughts on the system? Has it improved? Do you think it's got better? And there is of course the feedback thread on the Forza forums. Let's see how this race goes. Brands Hatch. This is a really good example. I've got a really good example of a penalty which was way too excessive, and I think actually just incorrect. So there are occasions where it just isn't right. So there is still work to be done. Almost cutting there, didn't quite cut somehow. Up into 10th. So busy race this in the touring car. And again, this is a kind of an example there where two cars get stuck. I was just trying to turn left. Turning left the whole time, but the car wouldn't turn left because our cars were stuck on each other. So that does happen a fair amount. And again there, another example. So here, holding it around the outside of this guy, and then just runs me slightly off the track, and I get a 4.75 second penalty. So I lost a position, I lost time because I was off on the grass a little bit, and then I got a penalty, and I was kind of edged into it. Even if there wasn't contact, there wasn't any space for me to go. But if there was contact, then it wasn't my fault. But that's the kind of an example of a thing where it didn't really match the crime, if there was a crime. So that's quite frustrating to get 4.7. I mean, there's no way that I gained 4.7. There's no way I gained anything really. And I suppose actually the penalties aren't supposed to match how much you gained or not, but that is definitely way too strong, and it can just destroy a race. Because if you're having a good race, I'd have to get through this group here and get 5 seconds ahead to stay in position, which is just asking way too much. So just trying to find my way past the Belgian to try to get back into my favoured 6th position. He goes a little bit wide there, trying to cover the inside, just covers a little bit too much, goes on, and I reclaim my rightful throne of 6th place. Another guy wide up ahead, just rejoining the circuit, go over to the right hand side, go past, easily up into 5th. And a little bit wide through this turn. I'm definitely rusty on this game. I do need to play a little bit more to keep my freshness up. So in 5th now, looking to go past the Frenchman for 4th. It's going to be really hard to keep any position here though because of that 4.75 second penalty. and on the way out here getting a little bit argy-bargy on the way out of the turn. And eventually, so we crossed the line in 4th, but courtesy of the penalty going down to, well, let's see, go down to 6th, obviously. It wouldn't happen any other way, would it? So there we go, down to 6th. Unfortunate race there, but this is just a random clip of something I found quite humorous. This guy just goes off and comes flying back on to claim a victim and send him into the Shadow Realm. LZR Rossi there just escaping with his life, barely. Now here's a good race in the Aston Zagato Silverstone, the short circuit, national circuit? No, not the national circuit, the other one, the shorter one, whatever it's called. So into turn 2 and turn 3, a little bit deep, as you kind of expect that with the stock cars, you know, not the best brakes. A lot of these supercars kind of have really good straight line speed, but then the brakes don't always seem to match that, at least when you compare it to a race car. The ratio between the braking ability and the speed is a lot better on a race car, of course, than it is on these road cars. Keeping the lead from Abiotic Soup through this through the final turn on the circuit. This was a really good race. It kind of ran like this for 3 or 4 laps, and well, by the 4th lap you can see it here. So very close battle, and we've been joined by player 3 for this fight. He just gets alongside, and I have to leave the space, and he's up the inside, up into the lead, and then 3rd place comes in out of nowhere. Didn't really expect that, so I've lost 2 positions on that turn. So kind of expecting, or hoping, should I say, for the guy in 2nd here just to really get on with it and just try to take the fight to 1st so he doesn't get too far away, and he does exactly that. So I've basically conjured my little minion here to fight him off, and I'm back into the lead as we come through this turn. Now look at this, I was so close, like just honestly like a pixel. I went a pixel beyond the line, and 4.5 second penalty is just a little bit too strict like that. I mean, I would accept that I cut the turn, but 4.5 seconds, it's just ruined the race basically, because now I have no chance of winning the race. I did get another 1.5, but winning the race, but going down because of the penalty, it was just a little bit too strong. Just a little bit too strong. I mean, for that, I would have, you know, half a second for cutting there would have been enough, I think. So the penalties, you know, better, improving, but still just need to have a little bit more tweaking, I would have thought. So VIR, not quite at night, but we're getting there. As coming to turn 1, as a lot of people come into turn 1 way too hot, going off the track. We're getting plenty of positions as per usual in this fearsome Audi. This thing is an absolute monster. It's coming through the first section here. Again, a tiny cut there, just not quite gauging it correctly. So here, cutting that bit, but the game kind of determined that wasn't a full-on cut, so okay, we don't get penalised for that one, fair enough. And advertising boards floating all over the place, those things are bloody dangerous. Now that's more like it there. I cut the tracks, 0.75, 3/4 of a second penalty. I think that's kind of the realm of where it needs to be. As we come through here, look at the madness, absolute chaos through these turns. We've gained a good handful of positions up into 4th. And Oak Tree Corner, I often mess this one up as I kind of try to go too wide on that first apex. It doesn't really work, you really do have to hug that first apex as best you can. So sitting in 4th, a drag race between the 2 of us, and I think it's clear that I'm either shifting in the better place or he hasn't got manual with clutch on. It could quite easily go past me in the same car, so it should ideally be the same. So 3.75 seconds of penalty to deal with. And the only thing we can really do is just try to catch up the best we can with the guys ahead, and maybe hope that they get some of the penalties for themselves, and maybe more than I get. A little bit later into the race, so a little bit into lap number 2, so it just begins to catch up with the Frenchman ahead. Very tricky section this, to try to keep within the limits exactly. Just manage it as he gets a 0.5 second penalty there, and I think that's just a lot closer to what it should be. These small increments of penalties, when you're getting like 4.5 seconds for barely going 1 pixel wide, is a little bit excessive, I would say. So come down the hill, and again just trying to catch up. to the back of SBR throttle as we just almost run off, and we both make contact through the mid-apex of the turn. So, exciting times ahead, I think, for Forza, especially. I was watching the Forza Monthly, and there was a lot of news as the SPR throttle just, I don't know what he does here, just gives up completely. So they were talking about the concept for the next Forza game, so it's just interesting to hear about that. And they're going to take on board a lot more feedback from the community, which is really good to hear that. And I think maybe that's an avenue worth going down, as maybe Forza 7, Forza 6 as well to an extent, but Forza 5 as well. Didn't really launch with, on par with what they should be. There were so many glitches and problems with the games. So we're just hoping the next game just really releases and it just hits the ground running. We just want it to be just basically problem glitch free from the start. That would be very nice indeed, wouldn't it? So as for when the next Forza game coming out, we don't know just yet. So I'm imagining it will be next year, but we'll see. We'll have to wait on that. And E3 coming up, if we see something there, then we'll know. But let me know your thoughts on when the next Forza game will come out. I mean, I'm guessing it'll come out, let's say, just September 2020. But you just never know. You never quite know exactly what's going to happen. So this race here, McLaren F1 GT at Spa. And once again, we did this race, I think, in the previous race regulations video. I did get a 0.5 second penalty, and again, that's kind of the penalty they should be, because I went barely wide, didn't really gain anything. Lifted off the throttle, didn't gain too much, and I think half a second is fair for the crime. So coming up the hill here with Abiotic Soup in tow. Now this kind of shows my rustiness on the game. As we come into Blanchemont, I don't really get a handle of the car, as the car's trying to kind of bounce all over the place. Go a little bit wide there, and I think I put him off as he goes flying into the wall, as my line was a little bit sketchy. And again, 0.25. I think that was fair, because I was kind of all over the place. I was slow through that turn. Did go wide, but I'll take that 0.75. It's just the consistency, I think. As we go a little bit deep here, and I did my best just to keep on. Look how close that was. Of course, you have to keep two wheels within the lines. We just about managed that. So I think it's a lot better now just to really make every effort to stay on the track as much as possible, rather than, before, without the penalty system, I would have just bailed out then and cut the corner. As I think most racing drivers do that. If you're going on, you just cut, you bail out and you cut the corner. This guy here, ghosted backmarker, and if we can end on that note again, that the backmarkers are ghosted, and we can all rejoice and have a very big party. A little return to Forza. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts on the new race regulations update, the ghosted backmarkers at long last. And that shall be all from me today. Thank you so much for watching as always. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.